There we are. Finally got the camera turned around. Alrighty. Alright, so I don't think we have anybody in stream yet, but we are down here in the basement. We're going to be doing my first ever live that actually occurred on this channel. I've participated in lives on 2 other channels. I was in a live tournament championship for the Sunfish King channel, and I was over at Any Fin Is Possible's channel, doing some fishing over there. And you know, those were really good lives. I had a good experience, but this is actually the first one on my channel. So we're going to get this rolling here. Going to be doing some fly tying. This is going to be the general setup. We'll get you guys zoomed in while I'm actually tying, but we're going to wait for some people to come in. If you're watching the replay, I don't think there's anyone in right now. Oh, we do have one person. All right. Alrighty. I'm going to do some checking here. This is generally just time for me to get my camera setup dialed in. While we're doing tying, I think that's what the view is going to look like there. So, anybody in chat right now? I see there's 2 people in here. Anybody in chat right now? Let me know what you think of this view. This will be what it's going to look like while I'm actually doing some tying here. There's a fly I tied up for the thumbnail of this video. Take that out of the vise. Put that away. And then we'll go back to a normal view. Alright, hopefully you can see me. I might tilt this up a little bit. There we are. So I'm here right now. Just waiting for some people to come in, and then we'll get started here in a minute. Yeah. Set up the little green background so you guys can have some contrast against the fly and be able to see it, hopefully. Got my vise. I usually set it up way over here, but I have it more in the middle of the table so you guys can see it. And I have my little portable fly tying station that I made. I'll talk about this more later on in the video, but I do have some footage of like the DIY process of me making this. So if you ever are interested in seeing that footage, it's about a year old now, but I think I can still make a decent video out of it. But if you guys are ever interested in seeing that video, let me know. But I have not taken on that endeavor of trying to make that video just yet. Check chat, see if anything's happening back here. No chats yet, but we got 3 people in here. Alrighty. And then another thing, which I'll talk about some more when more people come in, is I may look into doing some requests. Like if you have a request, like, oh, do a minnow pattern or whatever, or do a crawfish pattern. I have these charts here that a game warden actually gave to me that have like reference pictures of all the invertebrates and stuff like that fish typically feed on, so I'll be using those as references. I may be just doing some freestyle tying as opposed to doing like specific patterns, just trying to emulate like certain bugs and other forage things. Oops, sorry about that. Alright. Alright, so I think we're going to get into some tying here. I think we're just going to start with something simple. I gotta get my hooks out here because the drawer that has the hooks in it is very much in the way of the tripod, so I gotta get those out beforehand, I suppose. Alright, now let's put that back there. That's going to be probably the best view we're going to have. I think I'm just going to start tying here, wait for some people to come in. If you're in here watching, make sure to start chatting so we can talk about some stuff. Maybe give me a request for a fly to tie, but I'm going to start with just a streamer. All right, we got, I think this is a size 8. I think that's a size 8 hook in the vise. But yeah, we're gonna start with, we'll start with tan thread. This is what we're looking at right now. We're gonna start with this like tan. Oh, turn that back on. Thank you. Starting with tan colored thread, we're just gonna put down a thread base here, and we're just gonna see what I think I want to make here. No particular rhyme or reason about this right now. Oh, I do have a light, so I think I'll put that on so you guys can see it a little bit better. Something like that. There we go. Start putting on a thread base there. I usually actually start tying in the middle if I can, because if you start way up at the head, that's typically where you finish your fly, and it can get pretty bulky with the amount of wraps you do up there. So if I have the luxury, I will start in the middle of the hook. Sometimes you won't have that option, but for here, I'm not tying in the middle here. And we're gonna give that a little snip. All right. Anybody in chat have any recommendations for what I'm gonna tie here? I haven't really decided yet, so if you've got any ideas, I can do that. Still trying to get the angle as best I can. That should be pretty good there. Yeah, any I will take them now. Else I'll just start going and see what we think here. Maybe I think I'll just start with some sort of streamer pattern. They're pretty easy to do, and you can kind of be creative with them. I'm going to start with a marabou tail. So I got to grab some marabou here off camera. And I think we're going to go with a lighter brown. That's what we're doing here. So this is what we're working with here. Turkey marabou. And this marabou is not the greatest stuff. A lot of them are very like stocky on the end, like this one. It ends and it's very flat on the end. But what you really want is you want something with a lot more of the fluff on the end, like this. So I'm definitely going to pick, this seems like a good piece to start with. And because how small this hook is, we're obviously not tying in the whole feather. I'm just going to kind of grab some tufts here at the end, start working on that. Something like this, we'll give it a comparison to the size of the hook. Something like that is probably going to be what we're going to do there. So we'll kind of gather stuff up, just like that. We don't want that piece in there, just this stuff. There we go. All right, so that's going to be the base of our fly, the main tail piece. I'm going to hold that with my left hand and just give it 1 or 2 loose wraps around. And then give it a couple tight wraps around, make sure it's in there nice and good, and then we can snip off this huge piece that's just sitting there. All right, let's give that a cut and get this out of our way. And then we might have to do a little bit of cleanup. Just up here at the front, there's these little wispy pieces that we can just get off there. And yet again, I have this towards the back of the fly to leave myself as much room as possible to do, to tie stuff in at the front and to finish off the fly once we're done here. I'm going to start bringing my thread up towards the front just to make sure I have like an even dispersal here and the body starts to pan out as I want it. See what's going on in chat. Anybody in here talking? Maybe? No? That's okay. Still early, still early. And again, let me know who's in here. It says there's 4 people in here. I have no idea who exactly is in here. I think there's a way to check that, but I am not that advanced. As I mentioned at the very start of this, this is my first live stream that I've done by myself, as opposed to doing it on other channels. I think I may even, just take a look at some of the settings here real quick, just so I know what's going on. Okay. I can mute the microphone. There's my chat settings. And I can put filters on. Okay. And then there's me. All right. All right, so I now see that my grandparents are here. That's awesome. We know who some of the 5 people in here are. Awesome. All right. I think I'm gonna go with something that I actually end up doing a lot. I call them flanks on the fish, on the fly, to make it look more like a fish. Sorry, I can't speak here. And that's done by taking something like this feather here. As you can see, if you pull it, they come off in like little flaps, kind of. Of the fly presence here, make it look like the fly has some sort of depth to it here. Something like that is going to be what we're looking at. So I'm going to take one. As you can see, they curve in the opposite direction. So one's going to go on this side of the fly, curving this way, and then the one that curves the other direction goes on the other side of the fly. So I think I'm going to take one of these pieces down here. Just gonna, should get my light back on. There we go. I'm just gonna cut a little bit off there. And then you pinch it at the back, leave yourself room up at the top to tie. Once you get that tied in, you can manipulate it to kind of look the way you want. I'm not going to do that till I have the other side tied in. And then on this side, what's nice about this vise, this isn't what's called a rotary vise. For those of you who aren't too familiar with fly tying, there's a thing called a rotary vise. It's where you can kind of leave your thread still and just twist the vise. And the way it's set up, it has the shank of the hook like on the axis of rotation, so it's not like moving about. It's just kind of rotating directly around the shank of the hook. That's not what this is, but you do have the ability to flip it over. As you can see, the shank of the hook, the position does move, but it does give you the ability to work on the other side of the fly without trying to like be a contortionist here. So that's nice. I'm going to do the same thing and get a little flank piece on the other side of the fly here. Yet again, I saw some people chatting in there, but if anybody has any questions about what I'm doing, any questions about upcoming videos, what my plans are, what's going on lately, I'm definitely willing to talk about that stuff too. It doesn't just have to be solely fly tying stuff on the live stream today. Let's see here. So we got that generally tied in. Now I'm going to lock this back in place. Check chat again, and then we'll move on to the next step. My aunt's here too. I'm glad to see you. Thanks for the kind words. Hopefully I'm doing well on my fly tying technique. But then as I was saying, you can manipulate these flanks here once you have them in place. So I have these really nice fine tip tweezers. I'm just gonna kind of move everything to where I want it to be and get it kind of make it have as much presence. I'm almost trying to separate the individual fibers to get it to kind of splay out there. Not sure how well you can see that. Hopefully it's good. Here's an up close view. That's what we're looking at right now. Might even be able to get this a little bit closer here. And yeah, no, this is probably our best view. Might have to change this view if I do some fly tying streams in the future, but this is the best I've got right now. And then we come back over to this side and use our tweezers in the same manner on this side. Kind of splay out the fibers here. There you go. So all right, that's what we're looking at. Here's this view on this side. There's a view on the other side. And the one thing I'm noticing is we do have a little bit more fibers on the side closer to the camera and not as many here. So I'm actually going to tie in a couple more fibers just to make it look a little bit more even. Just a couple, maybe 2 or 3. Just like that. I'm gonna inch up my thread here, make sure I can be as precise as possible. All right. There we go. So you got that one tied in as well. I'm gonna give it a couple security wraps. And then we can move that one around just like I was doing before. Almost kind of combing it down into the place I want it to be. And then separating the fibers out. All right, that evened it up nicely. So I'll check chat again, see if anything else interesting's going on here. My bobbin's doing a dance here. Give you another up close view of the fly. That's what we're looking at right now. And I'll flip it over so you can see that side as well. And then there's that side. See, I want this to splay out a little bit more, kind of like that. My aunt asks if I'm going to use some Flashaboo. She got me some Flashaboo for my birthday. Probably 2 years ago at this point. Yes, I actually will use Flashaboo on this. That's not going to be my next step, but I will use it. So what I am going to do next, though, is pull out dubbing. For those of you who are not familiar with fly tying, this is what dubbing looks like. It's kind of like, it's usually synthetic. Sometimes, well, actually, that's not true. Sometimes it's made out of rabbit or hare fur or other animal fur that's kind of almost blended up, and then you can put dyes in it. These are all synthetics. This is called ice dub, which is like sparkly dubbing, and then these two up here are rabbit dubbing. I have a whole bunch of it. This is one of my most used materials, and I just keep them in like a standard tackle box so that I have quick access to it. I think for this one, just to give it some extra character, I think I'm going to use some of the ice dub. I think I'm going to go with maybe a gold, actually, just to give it some little bit extra flair. You don't need a ton of this. So I got some gold. That's what it looks like once I've got it out of the container there. I don't know if my camera's actually going to focus. There it is. I say camera. It's just, I'm filming this on my phone. That's what we're looking like. And then you pull out a decent length of thread and you just twist it on there. A lot of people use wax. Some people make a specific thread loop called a dubbing loop that you can kind of spin your dubbing into. But frankly, if you do it the right way and you're careful about how you put it on there, it works almost just as well to just spin it on there onto the thread itself. And then this little section where the dubbing is wrapped around the thread is called a dubbing noodle. And then you can just slide that up to where it's on the fly, essentially, and then pull it up to where you don't have all that excess. I'm going to put this back in its standard orientation, and then I'm just going to wrap this up around the midsection of the body towards the head. And then I'm going to, that only did a little piece of it, so I'm going to put on more dubbing, create a bigger dubbing noodle so that I can continue to wrap until I get all the way to the head up there. I'll give you an up-close view in a second, but we're going to put some more dubbing on here. I believe we have 4 people in here right now. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to wrap this until I get all the way up to the head. That was not a great start. Shifted on me there. I'm not doing well here. This particular dubbing noodle is kind of fighting me. There we go. And then that will take us all the way up to the head. I'm going to kind of down into a cone shape. And I'll give you an up-close view of what we're looking at here. Turn on the light so you can see as best as possible. So we've got, yet again, this is kind of rough right now because, you know, as you're tying, you're touching stuff, you're moving everything all about. Once we're done, we're going to do the cleanup phase and just kind of get everything into where it wants to be. Brush some stuff out, make sure that it's looking nice. But we've got our marabou at the back. We've got our little side flank. And then we've got our dubbing that tapers down into a cone at the head. That's just going to give some flash for the fly here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to take some other miscellaneous feather pieces and just tie up at the head to kind of almost mask the marabou that's up at the ice dub that's up here. It does not look the most natural. I just showed you that up close view. So it's not the most natural looking thing. We do want that to pop out a little bit, but not quite that much. So I'm going to put some feathers around it just to mask that a little bit. I think we're going to go to some more marabou, but a darker color. Let me check chat real quick. All right. So here's the marabou color we're going to use. There's a comparison against the marabou that we already used for the tail. And I'm only going to take like little snippets. So I'm actually going to take from the bottom here, which if you're using it for a whole tail is not that useful because, you know, it's pretty short and wispy in that section as opposed to like this full stuff out on the sides. But if you're using it just to do a little masking section up here, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to take it from like right here, that sort of stuff. So we're going to just cut off a little piece. Just some little wisps to kind of mask that over top of that. And normally I wouldn't like to do that because the thread will kind of cover up what you're doing, but it kind of sinks down into that ice dub and you can't really see the thread wraps I just put on, so it doesn't matter all that much. I'm going to tie it back right there. And almost do it on the top to where it sits on top of what we've already done instead of on the sides. Because on the sides, as previously mentioned, that's where we're going to put our Flashaboo. There you go. So that doesn't quite have as much presence as I'd want, so I'm going to put a little bit more. I was probably a little bit too conservative with the amount that I put on there in the first place. But now we'll cut this and put on a little bit more. Yet again, as people are rolling in, let me know who's in here. And then I'll show you another trick for those of you who are new to fly tying. As you can see right here, let's get the green background in there so that it focuses up. Right there, we have a little tuft that was from the forward to like this, and kind of wrap it around and then down, and it masks all the thread wraps that you did in that area. So that's what I'm going to do here. Yet again, it says there's 6 people in here. That's fantastic. I did not expect that many people to be in here on my first live. Well, now, as I said, that it just dropped to 5, but let me know who's in here. I've seen two different people comment, but if you're in here, let me know. If you got any questions really about anything that I do on the channel or just what's going on, I'd be happy to talk about that and just, chat. As I said, I'm going to kind of try and use this a little bit to mask the thread wraps I did in this area. This is a difficult thing to do at times because they don't really want to lay down. But I did a decent job there. I'll show you what that looks like now. Yet again, I'll do a little bit of trimming. But as you can see, it masks that tan thread pretty well right in that section. Sorry about that. Right in that section there. It masks the thread pretty well. There you go. The moment we've all been waiting for. I am actually going to go grab some Flashaboo and that. Now I've got 2 options, and I'm going to look for some comment or feedback here. See what you guys would think looks better. I have 2 different colors of Flashaboo. One really isn't Flashaboo, but it's just general flash. I have this color here, which is white and green crystal flash, and then I have straight green flash / tinsel. Give me a comment down below. Let me know which one you think looks better. I think this one is definitely more of a kind of in-your-face type of combo with the gold and the green. This one's a little bit more dull, a little bit tamer, more natural colored. Both would work. They'd just be for different, types of fishing, different types of water. Let me know what you guys think would look better, and I'll try that. Give me a comment, and I'll take the first 3 comments, best out of 3. Whichever one comes out on top, we'll use that one. So green in honor of Christmas. That's a decent suggestion there. Got some good reasoning behind it too. So far, green's in the lead. If I get another green, that's the one I'm doing. Yet again, here's what green would look like up next to it. You've got the brown at the back, but up at the head, you'd have some kind of pops of color and some honestly pretty shiny stuff with the gold ice dub and the green flash. Let's see if any other comments rolled in. I'll give it another minute. If nobody else comments, we're going to be going with the green. All right, it looks like we're going to be going with the green, which is fine. So this stuff, as I said, is pretty flashy, and I'm kind of going to lean into that a little bit. Usually I'd put only, 2 or 3 little strips per side. I'm actually going to put maybe 4, maybe even 5, to just kind of lean into like how bright and obnoxious this stuff is. So how you typically do this, for those of you who are not familiar with fly tying stuff. Oh, I did get another green comment, so green is definitely solidified. But back to what I was saying. How you do this is you typically fold this stuff in half. I know it's probably hard to see because this is not very thick stuff we're dealing with. You typically fold this stuff in half, and then you tie it in at the loop. So that way you can fold one of the little strips to the left side of the fly and the other one to the right side of the fly. Just do double duty. You don't have to tie in both strands separately. You can fold it over, tie in the folded over piece, and you have a little strand for each side. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to kind of brush down the last piece we put on, get it out of our way, and then we're going to fold this over. Just like that. I know you guys can probably not see what I'm doing because of how wispy this stuff is, but I'll give you an update after I have this tied in. Fold that over to that side. Yet again, I know you guys probably can't see what I'm doing. And we're going to do probably another strip. That's what that looks like, and then we'll do our final 2 strips. I think 4 is going to be the right number to do here. And we'll give it a tight wrap. There. All right. Now, I'll zoom you guys in. All right, so here's what we're looking at. Hey, Stuart, how's it going? Nice to see you in here. I know you do some fly tying stuff on your channel. Feel free to give me any feedback that you've got. But here's generally what we're looking at. So, as you can see, I looped it over up at the front and tied it in behind that loop so that we have a strand on each side of the fly. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these loops off, because obviously that's not the greatest looking thing ever. And I'm going to pull these strands to where I want them to be and then tie them in. I just noticed that I have a little wrap around the hook here, so I'll have to fix that as well. But that's what we're looking at right now. And I'm going to put 2 more strands per side in of this little flash here. We got 7 people in here. That is awesome. Thank you guys for coming in on this. Especially don't do them frequently. All right. Yeah, thanks, Stuart. I know this is right up your alley, so hopefully it's enjoyable and hopefully we can get some good interaction on it, because helping each other out is a good thing. We want to build that community and have a group of people who can help one another in these endeavors. So I know you can definitely help me out. Maybe I can help you out too. I don't know. You probably been... I'm gonna fold this one back over here. And now these things are kind of hard to deal with, but now we have 2 per side. I'm going to put in, as I said, another 2 per side by doing that same fold over technique and tying it in there. There you go, got a piece folded over, tie it in. These are kind of difficult to deal with. Lots of things in fly tying are difficult to deal with. I'm gonna back this off. There we go. Now I gotta almost reel up my thread here, make sure I can get it where I need to go. Yeah, but fly tying is not an easy thing to do. For those of you who maybe have never done fly tying before and are looking to start, don't feel discouraged. Your first couple flies, probably first almost 30, 40, maybe even 50 flies are definitely not going to look appealing. They're not going to be things you want to show off, and that's okay. That happens to everybody, and you have to go through that process to be able to learn how to do it the right way. My process was expedited. My grandparents are in here and they know this. Thank you to them for actually putting me in contact with this guy. But there's a guy by the name of John Conrad. You can buy his flies on some different websites. If I remember it, I will go put the links to those websites down in the description so you can support his work if you're interested in that. But he does some professional fly tying stuff. My grandparents know him, and they actually, were able to get me in touch with him to be able to learn how to do some fly tying stuff pretty early on so that I wasn't building incorrect habits and stuff like that. So that was a huge help early on in my fly tying career, if you will. Hasn't been all that long, and I've been fairly inconsistent with it. I've been fly tying for maybe 3 years, and it's kind of off and on. I do it way more in the winter than I do in the summer, which I guess makes sense because, the fishing's not as great in the winter, so might as well, stock up on some flies. All right, now we've got those 2 tied in. I'm going to cut off the loops there. We're going to tighten this up. And then I think I'm actually going to dub, if you will, as in put some dubbing back over the section where I tied those all in, because we yet again have a section where we just have a whole bunch of thread stacked up there. Hey, Boxcar Jerry's in there too. Sorry I haven't been checking chat for a while. Awesome. And Wendy. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Thank you guys for coming in. That's awesome. All right, so I'll give you an up-close view of what's going on here. So we now have 4 strands of the flash per side. I'm going to kind of get these organized and then make sure I have it secured by adding a couple more wraps. But as you can see, I have this middle section where there's just a whole bunch of thread wraps stacked up there. So I'm going to kind of put some more dubbing back over that middle section and fade it into this gold dubbed section up at the front, kind of blend it in. And then I think that's going to be all she wrote for this fly here today. We'll show you the final product then. This is kind of a low profile streamer. A lot of streamers can get pretty bulky. I have a couple in this case here, if I can get it out without disturbing the camera. But like this one here is a streamer I tied a while back. This one has a lot of bulk to it. That's like a warm water bass streamer. I've used this a couple times for smallmouth. Not this particular one, but one's very similar to this. This one's obviously quite a bit bulkier than the one I'm doing here. This style of fly I use a lot in creeks in the summer, just catching, chubs, sunfish, that sort of thing. You can toss it up in there. It sinks pretty slow, just kind of skirt it along the surface, and they work pretty well. This one's pretty bright colored. Probably use this one in some dirtier water for some more aggressive fish like sunfish. This is not going to be like a super finesse, super realistic technique. It's just kind of almost like a crankbait or something like that. Just kind of get fish to bite because it's flashy, it's big, it's in their face. So that's kind of what we're working with right now. I'm going to make sure I've got 4 per side, which I do. Everything's looking good, which means I can start trimming these up, I'm going to pull them so that they're in line with the back of the fly. And then I'm going to trim it just short of that, just like that. I'm almost, yet again, I know you guys can't see real well. I'm almost trimming it just a little shy of the little material clip here on my vise. All right, that's what we've got on this side, and then we're going to flip it over. Hold these tight up here, and then trim it just shy of the material clip, just like that. All right, that's what we're working with. And now, as I mentioned, we're going to pull back out the dubbing box, see if any other chat messages came through here. That's similar to an olive damsel. I'm not familiar with that pattern. Is that a trout pattern? What's that typically used for, Stuart? I'm pretty basic in the patterns that I tie. I like to be very creative with it. I know I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, which I believe you were not here for, but I typically, look at something in the area that I want to replicate as far as forage, and I have these charts here that a game warden gave me that show me like reference pictures of the invertebrates and stuff, and I typically just go off of that and try and replicate it to the best of my abilities. I mean, I know how to tie a woolly bugger, some different nymphs. I know how to tie, elk hair caddis, what else, clouser minnow, that sort of thing. But I really don't tie a lot of just standardized patterns that you'd read from a book. I don't do a lot of that. I like to be creative with it. That brings me more enjoyment. So that's typically what I do. So bringing back out the dubbing box here, I think I'm going to go with something kind of intermediate here. Maybe like a greenish brown to kind of fade between the green flash and the brown back here into this gold. Maybe something like this one. I think that's the one we're going to do. Maybe not. It's a little bit, I don't think that fades real well. Maybe just this brown here. That might be what we do. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think we're going to roll with this brown. Kind of cover up that midsection, fade back into, fade from the head back into the tail section of the fly. So I think we're going to use this. Going to, yet again, create a little dubbing noodle and just slide it up towards the fly. Just like that. That ice dub is very easy to work with. It's synthetic and it kind of just goes wherever you want it. This stuff, I'm not sure if this is synthetic or hair's-ear, but it's definitely not as easy to work with. I know I previously mentioned that a lot of people use like a specific wax or whatever. This is why people use it, because this stuff likes to do its own thing. It has a mind of its own, whereas the ice dub will kind of go where you want it, in my experience. This stuff kind of is not cooperative a lot of times, but we're going to do our best with what we got here. I don't own any dubbing wax. I've never used it because, as I previously mentioned, I'm not super consistent in my fly tying. So I kind of just use the materials and the tools that I've got to the best of my abilities. By the way, for any of you who are wondering, this is a Maxcatch Vise. They're like 50-ish bucks. I don't know the specific name. Yet again, if I remember, I'll go back and I'll put it in the description of this video after I'm done the live. My aunt, who is in chat, did get me this. And my grandparents, who are also in chat, got me most of the materials that I own. And I also collect a lot of materials from odd places. I'll run you through some of that after we're done this particular pattern. I collect some, if I find certain feathers. I know there's certain ones that are actually illegal to take, like you can't take hawk feathers or eagle feathers or something like that, so I typically leave those alone. But if I find like geese feathers or duck feathers, I'll pick those up, take those home, and use them as part of my fly tying arsenal. I also use a lot of stuff from like craft stores. I'll show you some of that here in a little bit once we're done this pattern. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take a little bit more of this dubbing and almost wrap over top of that gold to just fade it back in a little bit there. It's one of the well-known flies in Scotland. That's cool. Yeah, Stuart, go ahead. Shoot a question. That's what I'm here for. I'm totally open to any sort of question. Maybe not any question, but I'm sure I can answer the question to the best of my abilities. All right, I'm gonna fade that in there just a little bit, and then I think that's gonna be basically the finished fly there. Now what we do is called a whip finish. That's typically what I do. You can do, I believe it's called a half hitch is another option to finish off the fly, but I have a whip finishing tool. That's what this is. So I typically roll with the whip finish. You basically bring it up to the end of the fly, out by the eye of the hook, and then you use the tool. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm just going to demonstrate it, and you wrap it around a couple times. I typically do 4 or 5. And then you do that, tighten it down, give it a little snip, and then I'm sure Stuart has his question in chat by now, so I'll check that right after that. And then I use either head cement or UV resin to make sure the thread wraps up at the top don't come undone, because that's what's going to come undone first. And if that comes undone, there's a good chance that the entire rest of the fly can unravel. So you really want to make sure that's nice and secure. This dropper bottle is not the greatest, so it might spit out a little bit more than I want, but I'm going to try my best to be controlled with that. That was pretty good. All right, so we got a drop of head cement on there. That should secure up those wraps. Let's see if Stuart's got his question in here yet. What size of hooks am I using, and do I allow links to be shared in your chat bio? Yeah, Stuart, as I mentioned earlier, this is my first live. I am completely open to having links be shared in there, unless I, have an issue, then maybe I'll look into stopping that. But until I have an issue, I'm completely open to that. I'm not sure if there's a restriction on it because I've never looked at my live stream settings. If you want to be, like, if it's open and you can share a link and you want to, totally go ahead and do that. I trust you. And then as far as the size of hooks I'm using, I believe I started with a size 8. I have this box of hooks here, and I was using the largest size, which is either a size 6 or a size 8. It has a label somewhere, which I have stored somewhere, but I'm not going to try and find it during the live stream. It's either a 6 or an 8 that I'm using. And then that is going to be our finished fly. I'll bring it over to the camera and give you a show. And then we're going to kind of use a bodkin to kind of even stuff out here. And flies start to look better once they're in the water. But this is, as I said, a pretty low profile streamer. It doesn't have a lot of bulk up near the head. Most of its bulk is in the tail area. Yeah, and this stuff's just pretty good for warm water, panfish species, stuff like that in creeks. And as I mentioned, not a super finessey, realistic fly, but it does work pretty well in a lot of scenarios. So that's the first fly. With the amount of explaining I'm doing and constantly checking chat, I think I'm probably only going to tie 2, maybe 3 flies during this live stream. And then I think I'm going to pop out. Thank you guys all for coming in. I need to be a mod to do that. I think I know how to add you as a mod on the computer. I do not know how to do it during the stream on my phone. I can totally add you as a mod once I'm done the stream. But yeah, if there's something you want to share out, I can do that. If you send me a message like, oh, you want to share out this website, I can put it in the comments of this live stream after the live stream's over. I'll totally get all the details of moderator status and that sort of thing, and whether I want links allowed in the comments. I'll get that worked out once I'm done this stream. As I said, I don't really know how this works because this is my first stream, but I'm trying to figure it out on the fly here. Thanks for letting me know that, Stuart. All right, now I could either go with something, similar to that, kind of big and bulky so you guys could see it, or I could go with something more finessey like a nymph and then just kind of bring you guys in for up close shots frequently. Let me know what you want in chat, if you want like a more smaller profile thing, or if you want another big and bulky type fly. All right, thanks, Stuart, and thanks, Jerry. I'm so glad that you guys actually came in. This is awesome. As I said, I was not expecting this many people to be in here. I know Anyfin shared it out, and I know that may be how you guys knew I was doing this, but definitely thank you for coming out. This is awesome. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do something super simple. We could go over how to do a super simple fly, like a mop fly or something like that. Or I could do a nymph. I think that's going to be our two options. I could do a nymph, and we could look off of my chart here and see what type of nymphs we want to do. Something on the chart here, we can pick out something and try and emulate that. Or we could just do a mop fly. Let me know what you want in chat. Oh, by the way, here, I'll show you guys over here. Make sure you guys can see. This is what I look like right now. I've got this crazy like headlamp light thing on that I use while I'm fly tying. It's a very strange setup. It like swivels in two directions. I just thought it would be like a little comedic relief section to show you guys what I'm actually looking like right now. I look like an alien. So my other grandma got that for me. I'm not sure if she's in chat or not. She may be, but yeah. I've got a little weird looking headlamp that makes me look like an alien. That's what I use when I'm fly tying. So, all right, let's see. All right, I think just for the sake of having the camera being able to see it, I think I'm just gonna show you guys how to tie a mop fly. They're one of the easiest flies to tie. They're super, super easy. And then I think we're going to call it a day. After we do that, maybe I'll talk to you guys about what my video plans upcoming are so that you guys have an idea of what's coming down the pipe. Do a little chatting for the last couple minutes, and then I think I'm going to end the stream about an hour, 10 hour and 20 minutes, something like that. We're at 52 right now. By the time we're done this mop fly, we'll probably be a little bit over an hour. So yet again, with a mop fly, it's a fairly large presence fly. Flies in general are pretty small. So when I'm saying large presence fly, that's the size of hook we're dealing with. Just like that. This looks like a size 8 to me. If I had to eyeball it, it's either a size 8 or a size 10. It's one of those two. See, this hook's small enough to where I have to adjust my vise, make sure it can pinch tight enough to get on that hook. Adjust it a little bit further. This is not like the greatest vise in the world, but it is, honestly, it's a pretty cheap vise, and I've been very happy with it. If you're someone who wants to get into fly tying, or you do it infrequently like me, this is a really good purchase. It's a C-clamp vise, which are lightweight and portable, and because of how big this clamp is, let me show you how big this clamp is here. This is like a 3-inch clamp. I've got a ruler here. See how big this clamp is, actually. It's a 3-inch clamp, so you can get it around pretty much any table you want. I will try to leave a link in the description for this vise, if I remember. But it's a pretty good option if you're on a budget or you just do it infrequently. And it has a semi-rotary function, as I mentioned earlier in the video. It's a pretty good little vise for around 50 bucks. All right, we still got 7 people in here. Thank you for sticking with me here. Gathering my materials for a mop fly. We'll do some like bright, crazy color. I have like a light blue. We'll do a light blue just to go wild today, because why not? All right, but let me grab this, and then we should be on our way with a mop fly. getting a bead, because mop flies utilize a bead head to add some extra weight and give it a little bit faster sink. All right, here we go. So the first thing you're going to need for a mop fly, as I mentioned, is a little bead. See if I can get this on camera here. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world. There you go. We're going to be using a little gold bead. And we've got like a size 8 hook. So, I may actually switch over to like a wide bend hook, which is something I talked about in a short before, because they give you a little bit more clearance. I'm going to be using a very similar size. It's just wide bend, because these flies have pretty big bodies, and the wide bend gives you a little bit more clearance. Yeah, that's going to be better. All right, so we got a wide bend hook. It's almost an octopus hook shape. And then we've got our gold bead there. And we're going to put the bead head on. And then we're going to clamp this up in the vise. Which, now that I changed hook sizes, I actually need to loosen the vise a little bit. This is a process, people. We're getting there. It's gonna be fun. We'll make it through it. All right. With this one, we're gonna go with black thread. So I'm gonna put my second bobbin back in here. I'm gonna go with some black thread. With this one, I know I mentioned on the last fly starting in the middle. We're gonna start pretty close back behind the bead head and build up a little dam to keep the bead head in place. Just check chat, make sure nobody's saying anything important in here. What time is it there? So I'm in Pennsylvania. It's 7:58 at night here. When I start tying again, I will help you out if you want to come into my live at some point tomorrow. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. I think I can maybe make that. I don't know. My football team plays tomorrow, so I might be watching that, but I'll definitely try and stop in for a couple minutes if I get the chance. Yep, mop flies are really simple and very effective. I've caught a lot of fish on mop flies. I have a buddy, he's a really big trout angler, and he does a lot of stuff on the fly, and I'd have to check with him to, get exact numbers, but I'm sure he's caught over 100 trout on a mop fly, ranging from like 8 inches, and I think he's caught like a 24-inch trout on a mop fly. Like, they're really, really effective, and you can tie them pretty quick. Once you get the hang of it. I'm not going to tie this one super quick because I'm going to be, showing you guys how to do it. It's very, very, very easy. So, as I said, we've got the bead head on here, and I'm going to kind of just build up a little wall of thread behind it to almost keep it in place, making sure I do wraps further down along the way to make sure I'm dispersing the thread pretty evenly. This takes, I don't know, a little bit just to get it in a spot to where it stays in place more or less. So it does not want to come back up the shank of the hook now, so it generally is going to stay in place. And then why this is called a mop fly is because generally what you use to do it is something like this. I got this one from the dollar store, so these are fairly cost effective. This was like $1.25 from the dollar store, and you get a stupid number of these little mops, and this is what's going to be the body of our fly, and you can just pull on these a little bit, give yourself some extra clearance, and then you can just cut them off. I typically do this with like a normal pair of scissors because you don't really need to be precise, just to save a little bit of life on my fly tying scissors. But we're going to do like a really bright blue color just to be crazy. If you're in stained water while fishing for trout or something like that, this color could definitely do it. I mean, the stock trout around here are fed what's called pellets, and they eat power bait, which are in all sorts of crazy colors, so why would they not eat a bright blue fly? I can't see why they wouldn't. I've had them eat chartreuse ones. I caught a brown trout this year on a chartreuse and pink mop fly, so they'll really eat any color. It does not really matter that much what color you use. All right, so the first thing you want to do As I said, make sure that bead's in place. And then, yet again, there's not really a wrong way to do this. People get picky over silly things in fly tying at times. You can put the mop on and then do a little dubbing up behind it, or you can do it first. I'm just going to cut it off here, give myself a little space, tie the mop on, and then do the dubbing. For those of you who are familiar with how to do this, that's the order I'm going to go. As I said, there's not a wrong way to do it. It's a simple fly, and you're not going to like mess up the profile of the fly by doing it in an order that's not that. Like you can put the dubbing on first, and it's not really going to matter. So once you cut open these little mops, you can pull some of this little fluffy stuff out, and there's like a little piece of string inside. Don't pull too hard. You're gonna try and be ginger with it because you can pull off a lot of this stuff if you're not careful. We just want enough space to where I can get this little string out and use that to tie it on. For reference, here's what I'm looking at. I don't know how well you can see it, but that little white piece in there is the string on the inside, and I'm just pulling some of the little blue fuzz off from around it so I can get to that and have a nice secure tie on point. We have 10 likes on this live stream. This is awesome. Get a green and chartreuse color. I have chartreuse, or at least I did. I had them somewhere. Here it is. I do have a chartreuse one, Stuart. I'm just being crazy with the blue. I have actually used quite a few chartreuse mop flies before and caught trout on it, caught bass on it. I've caught lots of stuff on them. That's one of my favorite colors for stained water and for stocked trout. But yeah, I'm just being crazy with the blue. I do have a chartreuse one, and I also have a cream colored one somewhere. Oh, this is because I actually used enough of them to where I ran out of the thing, the like little hand piece, but I have a whole bunch of cream colored mops in there as well. We have a new chatter in here, Captain Clark's Adventures, 11 likes now. Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's the same thing as Chanel. Yeah, I actually use a lot of, like, honestly, craft yarn now instead of chenille, because you know, you can honestly use it the same way. People get picky about stuff, but if you're creative, you can use little pieces of yarn and stuff like that in the same way you would chenille, or you can use little pieces of, you know, little pieces of feathers from craft stores and stuff to add accents to your flies. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can get away with just being creative sometimes. All right, back to the mop fly. We've got that little piece of white string exposed in the middle. I'm going to reel up my thread a little bit just to get a little bit more precise. And then we're just going to tie it in there. You're going to tie it back just a little ways to make sure that you have enough room to get some dubbing up between where you tied it on and where the head of the fly is, where the little bead head is. You want to leave just a little bit of space. I'll zoom you guys in and show you what I'm talking about here. Just like that. There's my fingernail for reference. I've got just a little bit of space between the bead head to make sure I can get some dubbing in there. I use a Gray's FX2 Comp Special 10-foot 8 weight. What do you typically catch on that, Stuart? I assume that's your main fly rod setup you're talking about. Oh, incredible bulks in here too. Yeah, so Captain Clark, I am doing my first live stream because I've had some trouble staying consistent on YouTube. I've got a busy life, got jobs, do actually a lot of side jobs too. I'm in some difficult classes at school, and we've had some family health issues as of recent. So I'm trying out doing some live streams every now and again to you know, keep consistent. And I thought fly tying was a good way to get into it, since I can just, you know, do it in the basement. You use an 8 weight for trout. I know they have some big trout over there, but that is phenomenal to me. Like, I use a 6 weight for trout typically, and sometimes I'm overpowering them. The fact that you use an 8 weight is crazy. You must have some big ones over there. That's phenomenal. Can you use ultralight spinning rods? Boxcar Jerry, yeah, definitely trout with ultralight spinning rods is definitely an option. And I'm not sure if you're referring to like using flies on ultralight, but yeah, you can do that too. Some people frown upon it because, as I said, people get picky about stuff. But really, if you're creative and, you know, if you're willing to do it and willing to give it a try, you can find a way to do stuff. Even if people look down on it, like put a little split shot rig on there. You can get at the bottom. You can cast those little flies, even though they don't weigh a ton. If you put a split shot on there, you can use them under a bobber. There's lots of sort of things you can do to use flies on a spinning setup. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a fly setup. They are the most quote unquote ideal way to do it, but you can use other stuff and it will work. All right, back to the mop fly. And as I said, I'm gonna lean into this kind of crazy color thing today, just because that's the way I'm feeling today. But we've got a couple of options. I could either like use like a straight white, use orange, bright pink, or I could use something shiny. I'm just gonna make a really crazy colored mop fly. Essentially, what we're gonna do, just like the last one, we're gonna make a little dubbing loop. And we're going to wrap it around there, and that's pretty much the end of how a mop fly goes. Like, it's not that hard. You put this up, so it's kind of sticking off the end of the fly, just like that. And I typically do it so it's about the same length as the hook shank, maybe a little bit longer. This one's pretty much the exact same length as the hook shank. And then do a little strip of dubbing, and that's all she wrote. I think, unless anybody has any suggestions for what I'm going to do, it's to horse them into the boat very quickly so you don't lose time. That is, and you're a competitive fly fisher. That is really, really interesting. Yeah, I definitely, at times, fish in even with a 6 weight. So I imagine with an 8 weight, you can kind of just be the boss and do whatever the heck you want. So yeah, that's really interesting. I like hearing how different people do it, because everybody over in the States, when they're fly fishing for trout, pretty much uses between like a 3 and at max like a 6-ish weight. I'm on the high end with my 6 weight, and I do have a 3 weight. I don't use it for trout a lot. I use it for brook trout sometimes, but and maybe some brown trout, but yeah, I typically use my 6 weight, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's pretty heavy." An 8 weight over here would get some looks, Stuart. Like, yeah, 8 weight's kind of crazy. All right, Captain Clark, thanks for coming in. God bless you as well. Hopefully you have a good rest of your night. All right, I think I'm going to be like really, really crazy and go with like a chartreuse green color as my dubbing. And as I have mentioned several times, I use like some craft store materials. This is like a neon cotton ball shredded up. That's what this dubbing is. This is not store-bought dubbing, this particular color. This is pieces of a cotton ball. You can really use whatever. It does take a little bit more work. You got to shred those up, pull them apart, and then kind of roll them around in your fingers to get them like all fluffed up. But after that, it works pretty much the same as normal synthetic dubbing. But it's a cotton ball from a craft store, and it costs way less. You can kind of make do with stuff that's not specifically designed for fly tying, and it works just fine. And this stuff stays on the thread pretty well, actually. So it's a win-win. It's cheaper and it works pretty well. All right, reel up our thread again, and we're just gonna wrap that section between the mop body and the head of the fly. And then I'm going to go back over that and kind of compress it down. And then I'm just going to do another layer of that, which obviously that doesn't look too pretty right now, but it's just going to get covered up, so it does not matter. I'll give you guys a little zoom in a second once we're done. I'm just going to finish this mop fly up, and then we can chat for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to pop off and have the rest of my night to myself. All right. Yeah, I've got some homework to do. Just, relax for the rest of the night. This went better than I expected. I did not expect to have this many people in here. We still have 8 people in here. Pocket lint. Yeah, a pocket lint would probably work, actually. That's funny. That could be like a fun little short. Stuart says plus if I'm using a heavy sinking line, like a D17 or D18, it's to bully them up from down deep. Yeah, I would like to look into using a sinking line at some point, but I just don't know where I'd use it because most of the places to where I use streamers, like even if I want them down deeper than a sinking line can reasonably do, it's not deep enough to warrant getting a whole a floating line, that is. If it's deeper than what a floating line can reasonably do, it's only a couple of areas where I really do that, and I'm not sure if I really have like the justification to get a whole sinking line set up. So yeah, I've never used a sinking line. I do know what they are, and you know, if the fact that you're using a sinking line definitely means you're a more advanced fly angler than I am. I try my best, but I'm not the most advanced fly angler ever. It's very fun. And it's a very different style of fishing, and I do enjoy it, but I don't do it quite as much as my conventional fishing. Yeah, but that does make sense that the heavier sinking lines would do better on a heavier rod. All right. Not that. And we'll give it one more little layer of dubbing. DI7 is 7 inches a second. And oh, okay, that actually makes sense. That's awesome, Stuart. I did not know that. Thanks for telling me that. That's cool. So the DI8 is like a denser line and it sinks faster is what I'm interpreting that as. That's interesting. All right. And so I assumed that was like a line weight, like a DI7 was equivalent to like a 7-weight line, but it was a sinking line. I did not know that they had like sinking speeds. That's cool. And we'll do one more little layer of this dubbing, and then we'll finish this fly, and we'll call it a day for the actual tying portion of the live stream. I'm gonna make one more little dubbing loop, do one more little layer, and then we'll call it a day. All right, now, as I mentioned on the last one, we're going to finish this up with a whip finish and some head cement. And then that's going to be it for this fly here. I'm going to do 5 wraps, I think. I don't know if that was 4 or 5, but it's good enough. We're going to head cement it anyway. You don't want to pull on your thread super tight when you're finishing off your flies, because if you break your thread, sometimes it'll start to unravel. You want to make sure you have full control over it and snip it. The head cement will keep you secure. You don't have to like pull on it super hard. And then our head cement, as I mentioned on the last fly, this is kind of hard to deal with. This bottle of head cement does not have the greatest designed applicator tip there, but we managed, and that is a finished mop fly. Let's get you up close and show you what that looks like. Boom, that's a mop fly right there with a wider gap hook to make sure that it has enough clearance from this pretty big, bulky body, and it can get in the fish's mouth. I'm having a hard time speaking, apparently. Do flies sink or stay on top? So there are what's called wet flies and dry flies. Dry flies stay on top, hence why they're called dry. And then the wet flies, as you can imagine, they sink. This particular one, this one sinks. It has this little bead head, which is kind of like the equivalent of like a split shot to help it sink a little bit. Yeah, you can have flies that both float and sink depending on what you're doing. And then there's even rigs called like a dry dropper, which is like you have a fly up top that floats, and it's kind of like a bobber, and they can also bite the bobber, the quote unquote bobber, and eat that one if they feel like hitting on top. And then there's a fly underneath of it that sinks, and then you can use it like a bobber, and if the dry fly goes down, you know you've got a fish eating the bottom one. Now I know why it's called a mop fly. Yeah, they're really interesting, and they're pretty cost effective and to make, and they're pretty time effective to make. I've made up a batch of like 50 of them before in less than an hour. Like they're not hard to make. If you get in the zone, you can go really, really fast. And you know, the fish aren't really picky. Any fish that's going to eat a mop fly is not a picky fish. So they don't have to look the prettiest. But this is basically what we're looking at. I'm loosening the wrong thing. There's our finished mop fly. There you go. Awesome. So we got 2 flies done today. We can sit here and chat for a minute. I'm going to turn it around so we can see what's going on here. All right. We can sit here and chat for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to end this stream. Definitely did not expect to have... I had 10 or 11 people in here at the same time at one point. Did not expect that. Thank you guys for coming in. That's awesome. Check chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, let me go back a little bit. All right. You fish a reservoir that's 100 plus feet deep. Stuart, I think the deepest I've ever caught a fish is probably out of like 40 feet of water. So you're definitely beating me there. And fly fishing that deep, that's definitely a little bit above my pay grade, at least for now. Hey, if I'm ever over in your neck of the woods, which I don't know why I would, but if I'm ever over there, I'd definitely like to try that. That sounds awesome. Talking about fly fishing seasons, let's not put my finger there so you guys can see me. If you put them on the sinking line, they'll still try to get to the surface, but they sink with the weight. Yeah, there's definitely different ways you can rig it. As I mentioned, I've never used a sinking line. Mop fly, or what's it blop? Huh, is that another name for it, Stuart? I did not know that. Stuart's teaching me all sorts of things. See, I thought he could teach me stuff. I will teach you. I would appreciate this. This is awesome. I do my best here, and as I said, I'm more of like a creative fly tyer. Maybe if I do another stream for fly tying, maybe we'll just try and do stuff off the charts. I have all sorts of things that's backwards to me on the thing. I think you guys might be able to see it. Correct orientation, but this chart shows you all sorts of different bugs that you could emulate by using your tying. And this is what I typically do. I'll look at a picture, maybe that I took, like, oh, I found this this different bug in the river or whatever, and then look at a picture here of what it's supposed to look like and use those to kind of do specifically what I'm trying to do. If I want to create a crane fly, I will find a picture of a crane fly larva on here. No, that's the shape I want to do. Look at like colors by finding some crane fly larva in a creek, and I'll go to town, see what I can do, see if I can make an accurate representation with the materials I've got. It's kind of fun. It's like if you've ever done Legos, it's kind of like you build your Lego set using the instructions, but then eventually it gets boring, and then you take it apart and you do whatever you want and you be creative with the Legos. I followed instructions on how to tie flies for the first little bit I did it, but then eventually I just decided that I was going to be creative with it, and I enjoy that more. So yeah, Stuart, you said you've been doing this for 30 years. That is longer than I have been alive, so you definitely know a lot more than I do. I would love to. I'll make sure I try and tune in whenever you have live streams. I would love to learn, always up to learn. Yeah, there's different levels of experience, and everyone can always learn something. You can definitely learn something from someone out there, and I can definitely learn from you. So I'd definitely be willing to pop into some live streams and see what's up. Turning 33 next month, so I know a lot about how everything works for trout. Yeah, I am I'm still a teenager. I have not even gone to college yet, so I'm fairly inexperienced in this world. Yet again, my whole channel is about sharing what I know, but also sharing what other people know and sharing my learning experience. I have a whole series on the channel called The Learning Curve, which is essentially, trying to show you guys that, um, when I learn things, here's how I do it. Here's what I learned. Don't do this because that's not good. Do this because this was good and was something that worked for me. But I'm not afraid to show you guys that I don't know everything, because I definitely don't know everything. But sometimes displaying my learning process can help you guys maybe not make the mistakes that I did, or maybe repeat some of the things that actually did help me. I'm definitely going to be doing some more learning curve episodes on lots of different topics here in the future. My next video that I'll have coming out probably next weekend. We'll see how things goes. I know this last week of school before winter break's probably going to be crazy with work, but I'll see. I'll see if I can get that video out. That's going to be a learning curve episode. I did some magnet fishing, which was, I thought it was going to be, like pretty straightforward when I started the video, and there was going to be just some minor things that I learned, but there was a lot of weird stuff that I never would have thought of would have gone on when learning about how to do that, and it was really, really interesting. So I'm excited to share that video with you guys. And then I've got some of my multi-species madness episodes coming down the pipe here that were filmed over the summer. We went to North Carolina for our annual Outer Banks trip and did a multi-species madness episode there. That one's going to be really cool. That whole video and whole experience holds a very special place in my heart, because as you'll see when I release the video, we did not have a good couple first days fishing down there. It was very rough. The surf was not good. I was not catching much in the surf. I was barely squeaking by days, catching 1 or 2 fish for the first 3 days I was there. I think, like not a lot of fish, nothing interesting showed up. And it was not great fishing. And then we kind of changed our strategy. My goodness, I cannot speak today. We kind of changed our strategy over, and we ended up catching a lot of fish. And I think I ended up with, spoiler alert, I think I ended up with 4 new species that I'd never caught before. So we really turned our trip around. So that really holds a special place in my heart. And I think that video is going to be really cool to demonstrate how, if you're just willing to be versatile and change your techniques around, you can get some stuff done even in not ideal fishing scenarios. And then we've got our Ocean City, Maryland multi-species madness coming out. I know my aunt and my one set of grandparents are in here. We go with them to Ocean City, Maryland. So they had firsthand experience of that video. That one's pretty cool. We caught some new species. I caught a really big fish in that video, which had some interesting footage associated with it. You'll see that. I'm excited for that one. And then, of course, we have our summer trip up to my lake house. And we caught a lot of freshwater species there, which is always fun. I film a lot of content up there. I think my last video that I posted on the channel was a short from up there. I was catching brook trout out of a really tiny creek. I always get some really good outdoor content from up there. So those are definitely going to be coming down the pipe as far as videos. I know I have some videos planned about testing some outdoors equipment and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I've got coming down the pipe as far as long form videos. Shorts, I kind of just do stuff on a whim. I don't really have a plan for shorts. If I get an idea, I kind of just do it that day and then just wait until, maybe I'll wait a week to upload it. But if I get an idea for a short, I'll just go out and do it. Whereas long form videos are more planned. Next live stream I'll do, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I might do some carving, something. If you guys are interested in doing some more fly tying, let me know. If you have any ideas, that would be great. I'm probably going to do something inside during the evening because it's kind of cold here. I'm not sure where everyone else lives, but I live in Pennsylvania, and right now it's like 30 some degrees out right now, high 30s, and it's dark. So not ideal situations to go film a live stream. and we only have a little bit of light between, you know, when I get home after school or when I get home after church or whatever before it actually gets dark. So not ideal situations to try and film alive other than inside. All right, Stuart's talking about some stuff. He'll definitely teach me. I definitely do appreciate that, Stuart. As I was saying, I love learning and I love displaying my learning process, so that maybe that can help people. And, you know, sometimes it's entertaining to be like, oh, you know, he's learning this, he's improving. And I like, you know, I think it's very entertaining when I see other people grow and improve. And hopefully it's entertaining to you guys, like as I grow and improve, become a better fisherman, become a better bushcrafter, or whatever it may be. I'm always trying to improve, and hopefully you guys enjoy watching me improve and watching me learn. Maybe it helps you guys out a little bit as well. If you can pop up on my panel. Yep, you're in Scotland. Yeah, I did know that. I think, yeah, I did know there were some, you know, like really interesting trout fishing opportunities over there, and I know the fishing experience over there is definitely a lot different than it is here in the States. Um, so yeah, I'll make sure I watch some more of your videos. I've seen a couple of them. I've popped into a couple lives of yours where you've been fly tying and stuff like that. I know you catch halibut and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely cool to watch other people who do something similar to you, but like in a different place. Yeah, it's just really interesting to see how other people in the community do their thing and what their thing is. Um, yeah, I am probably going to give it just a couple more minutes before I X out of this live. I really appreciate everyone coming in. We still have 8 people in here and we have 12 likes. As I said, probably more times than is needed in this live stream. I was not expecting to do this well on my first live stream. I appreciate everybody for coming in. All right. Yeah. So for anybody who is in here and knows that I did the Sunfish King Summer Fishing League tournament, I did get most of my stuff. I think there's only one item left that I haven't got from the prize packages that I won. So I'll maybe do an update, you know, short or something on all the stuff I got, what I think of it, because I've used a lot of it at this point already. Just trying to think of anything I can update you guys on in this live, because, you know, trying to make a community post or trying to do a video about, you know, every little thing that is related to what I do here on the channel is kind of it's kind of a bit much. So just being able to talk to you guys on live is cool. Yeah, so we have actually a lot of people that, at least according to my channel analytics, I have a lot of people that are from not the US. I get a lot of people from Canada. I get some from, where else did I get some from? I think I had someone from the Philippines one time. I've had a couple people from Scotland, and someone from some other European country. It's not, I don't think it's just you, Stuart, who's a Scotland viewer. You have some fellow people there. Yeah, and I know Stuart is a loyal supporter of Anyfin is Possible channel, and he has a lot of people from not the US as well. He has a lot of people from European countries and stuff like that, and I find that really cool. That, you know, this allows us to talk to people and interact with people who we never would have talked to. Like, you know, Stuart is an awesome dude. He's always in the Anyfin live streams, and I'm in there a lot of the times as well. And obviously he's here, which is awesome. And, you know, I probably never would have even found Stuart if it was not for, you know, his interaction on Anyfin's channel. So, you know, it's really interesting to be able to see what goes on in other locations that's similar to what you do. Yeah, because you were talking about, you know, sinking lines and 100-foot reservoirs for trout, which is not at all the trout fishing scenario here. I mean, you can catch lake trout that deep, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. So, yeah, it's really interesting. I'm probably going to we'll give it like 3 or 4 more minutes. If anybody's got any final questions or any final comments, recommendations for future videos, live streams, anything like that before I go, get them in before the time's up. It is 8:31 according to my watch, and I think I'm going to end it at 8:35. So, yeah. Any final questions, remarks, concerns, compliments? I will take any of those at this time. My I just pulled a repeat from my gym teacher. My gym teacher says that a lot. So shout out to my gym teacher. Just used his line there. All right. Make sure I'm not missing anything in chat. I know we've had a lot of chats. Yeah, this is my little corner where I do a lot of like filming for videos here, and obviously I'll be doing some live streams here. Got my fly tying stuff here, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, for those of you who were here, I have this little DIY fly tying bench, and if you guys are ever interested in seeing the footage of how I made that, I do have that, but it's probably about a year old now, and I never, made a video out of it. And then I've got like a little drawer system here where I keep all my fly tying materials, and then I put it down on the floor. That's like my toolbox and all my actual tools that I use here. Got a nice little station here, and then for those of you guys who have watched my fishing organization system video, I have a nice little area where I do and keep outdoor items and equipment there. So, my family's very blessed to have the ability to live in a house that's big enough to give me ample space to do this sort of stuff. I know a lot of people don't have that, and I'm very blessed to have that. I'm very thankful for it. But yeah, this is a cool little section that I've got to be able to do stuff like this fly tying. So yeah. All right, we got 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna leave here. Any other comments, or maybe we'll just exit out? Yet again, I'm gonna keep saying it because I am very thankful and very surprised at how many people showed up and how interactive we were on this first live stream. Thank you everybody for coming in. It's really awesome to be able to interact with you guys. I'm not a big channel, and I'm not the most professional channel or whatever you want to call it, but I try my best, and I appreciate everybody coming in and watching the videos, and giving me ideas and trying to give me tips and advice, because it just helps me improve as an outdoorsman. And I wouldn't be able to keep doing YouTube stuff. I wouldn't be as driven to keep doing it if I didn't have interactions with people, because that's why I really do this. Hopefully I can help some people, and hopefully people can help me. It's like, a give and take, and we're just really building a community. This isn't like, oh, I'm the star, I'm in the spotlight or whatever. It's just, I'm building a community and an interaction with you guys to be able to learn stuff. And, that's really cool. I thank you guys for coming out. And if nobody has any last minute remarks, I think I'm going to end the live stream. I'll give you guys a couple seconds. And if not, then we'll head out of here. Thank you, Bulk. You are always commenting, and I see that you're watching my videos, because I have a little thing in my YouTube Studio app that, at the end of the week, it shows me what my performance was in certain areas, how many people watched, or whatever. And I always see your little icon pop up that it was like, oh, there was 300 people that tuned in to Mission Discover this week, and your icon's always on there. So I know you're watching the videos. Thank you. Yeah. All right. If no other remarks are here, I think I'm going to end the stream. Yet again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I don't know how to end this. See ya. I think I know how to end it now.